Today on a special Wednesday edition of Sports Talk, we have the tennis coaches of McKinney ISD in studio to recap the just concluded district tournaments for the spring season. Hello and welcome everyone to the show. I'm Tyler Sloan, your host. North and Boyd both had district winners last season on their teams, but did they have the returning players capable of securing those titles again? And the McKinney Lions were underdogs all year long in a tough District 10-5A. How did they fare in the district tournament? We'll find out next on Sports Talk. Wrap up the McKinney Boyd tennis season. They just finished their district tournament in 10-5A just yesterday. A really quick turnaround for Kristen Yarbrough to come here and talk to us from the district tournament. Thanks again for joining us here.
Thank you for having me.
The district tournament, it's always, a wild and crazy feel because as a coach, you're having to go from court to pay attention to all the different matches. And how do you personally try to manage what matches to go watch and how often you're running back and forth between the courts?
It's especially hard when we're at Allen just because the courts are so far apart from each other. But I think you kind of look at the draws and you know who your teams are up against, and you go the ones where you know that if they're going to have an easy match, then you're going to go watch somebody else. If they're going to have if they're playing the #1 seed, you want them to do well and you hope them the best, but you really want to coach those ones where it might be a tight match that can go either way, and you tend to focus on those a little bit while keeping your eye on the other courts. Maybe you have some of your other players go check on their scores, come back and tell you, and if there's something you need to go address, you'll step away from that court for a little bit and go check on those other courts. But if you see there's a tight match, usually you stick close to the ones that are the tight matches. Yeah,
those are the ones you want to pay special attention to.
Right.
I'm sure mixed doubles was really your strong suit this year on your team. You mix and matched a little bit of the players, between mixed doubles from the fall and the team tennis season and the spring and the individual season. And last year you had a team go to state in mixed doubles,
right.
And this year you had them not quite the state result, but a good result in district play, finishing fourth.
We put John and Kelsey together. They were our line 1 boy and our line 1 girl from the fall, and they did really well all throughout the spring in the tournaments. They placed. They got 3rd place in our centennial in the centennial tournament we played, and they at least got 3rd in all of the tournaments we played. And they beat some good teams. They had some really good matches. They beat one of the Highland Park 2 team, which was a good match for them. They beat them in straight sets, and they had some good wins over half of the Plano West team. The girl that we played at the district tournament, they had a couple wins over her throughout the season, but then the last minute, Plano West threw in a different boy in the lineup, so that altered it just a little bit for us. And they lost yesterday in the semifinals, and then they lost their 3rd place match to the second Plano West team. So it was tough. We were hoping to be able to get another team out to regionals, but just didn't work out for us the way we wanted it to this year. The Plano West team did a good job of neutralizing our strengths, and we couldn't overcome it. So
yeah, very very close, just missing the cutoff by a couple of places. And going into those district tournaments as a coach, you usually have a consistent roster throughout the year of in the spring, this person is my #1 singles and this is my #2, and they're going to play that slot the entire time. But sometimes coaches like to mix it up when it gets to a district tournament. They try to think of, well, where am I going to be able to get my players into regionals, and they switch up the lineup. How much do you personally like to switch up your lineup before a district tournament?
Well, we don't really switch it up a whole lot just before the district tournament. Some of the coaches, if they see something's not going right at the tournaments we play out throughout the spring, then they'll change it up. But I like to try to get my lineup as solid as possible, by February, March, when we're getting into our tournaments, just so that they can have experience playing together, and we can get some seating information, and they're used to seeing some of the players that we're going to see at district. They've already seen them across the net. So I try to do it as soon as possible, but there's always the inevitable of somebody eligibility wise or injury wise, and you have to make some last minute changes. But you do what you can to get as many as you out to regionals.
Now I know at the
possible.
in the January and February months there was a lot of cold weather, a lot of bad weather that came up in this area. How much did that affect your tennis season, and how did the players respond to sometimes having to go out for some of those cold matches?
It was cold. It was definitely a cold spring. It really only affected one of our varsity tournaments. It actually got canceled because of the snow. That was one of the Coppell Valentine's tournament that's middle of February. It affected more a couple of the JV tournaments. For some reason, the poor JV team, they always seem to be playing when it was either freezing cold outside or raining outside, and they'd have rain delays or it would get canceled. Varsity, for the most part, we still played, but it was cold. Lots of sweats and sweatshirts and warm-ups and bundling up and blankets when we weren't playing. So
It's a great thing they provide those clothing for the tennis players going into the season. When you get those team sweats and stuff like that, they come in very useful during those months. Andrew Lawson was a kid that was on JV for most of this year, but he ended up stepping up and playing a couple of varsity matches late in the season, and you really like this kid moving forward.
Andrew, I see a lot of potential in him. He started off as JV, and he's actually been playing for right about a year right now. But he's worked hard. Every single time we're out on the court, he's given 110%. He's encouraging his teammates to give 110%. He's hungry for the game. When we're not practicing, he's up at the country club that he goes to, and he's talking to those coaches. He's working out with those coaches. He's hitting every chance he gets, and he really stepped up for us this spring when we had a spot open up on varsity, and he played. At first, it was getting used to the varsity level of play. It's a lot different than the JV level of play, and he kept persevering, and finally he had a couple wins. We paired him in doubles, and he and his partner Ashley Babiak, they got 2 wins in their last tournament they played, and then even at the district tournament they were the underdogs, but at the district tournament they won their first match at the district tournament, so they made it to the quarterfinals. So
a good little stepping stone moving forward. This was a very inexperienced team overall. You had a lot of seniors graduate from last year's team that did so well, and so looking ahead to the next couple of years, especially for a lot of the younger players on the team, what are you looking for in the summer and in the fall next year to really build on them, and what they need to improve on? You think what are some key areas they need to improve on to get to the level you want them to?
We're always working on strategy. We're always working on them getting into the net and just double strategy and that kind of thing. A lot of them don't get that when they go out and they're hitting on their own, but I'm already encouraging every single one of them. This summer, get involved in hit groups, get involved. Go out with your teammates and play. As much as they can be out playing, it's going to be more beneficial for them. I've encouraged them all to, sign up for the USTA tournaments, get involved playing the USTA tournaments so that they're seeing other opponents and just getting used to the match play. So,
well, Coach Yarbrough, thanks so much for joining us today, and congratulations on another year. McKinney Boyd coaching the tennis team, and good luck to you next year.
thank you very much.
It's McKinney Boyd Tennis and Coach Yarbrough with their top finisher this year, a 4th place finish in district tournament for the mixed doubles team from Boyd.